Spirit of Fire. Elephant recon teams Echo and India are clear of hostiles and moving to potential base sites. Over.
Roger that. Sergeant Forge, you will need to clear that fire line just ahead of your location and get to your beacon. We'll follow up at that time.
Orders. Setting up. Yes.
Sergeant, logistics are preventing reinforcements. Train squads out of that elephant.
Flamethrower on the ground. Marines reporting for duty. Marines, good to go. On the way. On the way. Moving.
All units.
On the way.
All units.
Marines ready, sir. On the way. Marines.
All units.
On the way. Flamethrower, fueled and ready. On the way.
All units.
Right away.
Safety's off!
All units.
Right away. Serena, I thought you said there weren't any signs of the Covenant down here. What do you call all this?
Designation Jiralhane, aka Brutes. Responsible for the attack on Harvest.
Right away.
Into attack!
Marines, good to go. On the way. On the way.
This ain't gonna be pretty!
On the way. On the way. Rip them up. Blast them.
I missed!
Right away.
Flame inbound!
Right away.
Get down!
Right away.
Get down! Run long! Move!
Right away. On the way.
Don't lose your target!
On the way. Moving.
We're on it!
They're going in. Moving.
Spartan Red Team reporting in. Sergeant, we will flank the enemy and move to your location.
We're going. We're going.
More resources required. All units.
On the way. Ready, sir. Rip them up. Right away. On the way. Right away. Green. Right away.
Moving in!
Quick, fire. Blast them. On the way. Our beacon is just up ahead. Should be easy going now. Echo is operational. Situation normal. All is... Hold on. Something's... Movement! We've got movement all over! On the way. On the way. This is Echo! Help! Help! They breached our... Ah! On the way.
Echo signs are offline.
On the way.
Quite suddenly, I might add.
On the way.
Sergeant, take a team out there and find out what's happening.
Orders. Right away. India reporting in. Elephants unpacking. Hold for... Wait. Over there. What the hell was that? On the way.
Deep in Covenant space running to...
Spirit, this is India. They've taken over. Get us... Ah! Orders.
India's signs are offline as well. How very ominous.
All units.
On the way. On the way.
Can't see 20 feet in this mess.
On the way. On the way. Flamethrower, fueled and ready. On the way. Flamethrower ready, sir.
Johnny was bad and
On the
Johnny
way.
was brave.
Flamethrower, ready to burn. On the way.
All units.
On the way. On the way. Marines reporting for duty.
All units.
On the way. Right away. Right away.
All units.
On the way. On the way.
Orders say we move. We move.
On the way.
All
On
units.
the way. Signal flash. We must be close. Right away. Forge here. I believe teams Echo and India are compromised. Over.
Covenant? I'm not reading any brute signatures.
Not Covenant, sir. Something else. Something worse. Much uglier. Orders, locking down.
All units.
Right away. Clear out that crap around the elephant. We need to get it mobile.
Go them.
Rip them up. On the way. On the way.
All units.
Right away. Right away. On the way. On the way. Right away.
All units.
Right away. Quick, fire! Right away. On the way. Right away.
I think I'm gonna puke. Fire that off.
More resources required.
Right away. Flamethrower on the ground. Right away. Flamethrower ready, sir.
All units.
Right away. Right away. Blast them. Flamethrower ready to burn. Right away. Flamethrower fueled and ready. Right away. Right away. Right away. Right away. Right away. Right away.
More resources required.
We're going.
All units.
On the way. On the way. Flamethrower good to go. Right away. On the way. Flamethrower on the ground. We're going. Light 'em up. Light 'em up. Light 'em up.
Ready to lay down some heat.
Light 'em up.
All units.
Right away. On the way. You're clear. Let's get you home. On the way.
Sergeant, I'm approving your beacon for a firebase site. Serena, prep pods for launch.
Right away.
Aye, aye, sir. Location marked and pods launched. Don't do it wrong, boys.
Right away.
Ready to lay down some heat.
On the way.
Don't try this at home, kids.
On the way.
All
On
units.
the way. On the way. On the way. Right away. Right away. Right away.
Station complete.
Right away. Deploying.
That's new and scary. These organisms are interesting. Our database has nothing on their origins, or, well, anything about them, really. At first glance, they appear to be a species of virulent, parasitic organisms that thrive by consuming other sentient life of sufficient biomass.
Serena, you ever hear the phrase, too much information? Orders? Right away. Orders?
Reactor complete.
Keep flaming those things!
Supply pad upgraded. Turret improved. Supply pad complete. More resources required. Turret improved. Turret improved.
On the way. On the way.
More resources required. Field armory complete.
Ready. You got it. Too easy. You got it.
Fortress upgrade complete.
On the way. Standing by. We're going. We're going.
Get up, gentlemen!
More resources required. More resources required. Field armory complete. Supply pad upgraded. More resources required.
Check flame!
Marines, good to go.
More resources required. Reactor complete.
Marines on the ground, sir. Marines ready, sir. Marines, hoorah! Standing by. Marines reporting for duty.
Get moving!
On the way.
Booyah!
Marines, good to go. Standing by. Right away. Right away. Right away. Right away. Orders. Orders. Setting up.
Turret upgraded. Air pad complete. More resources required.
Let's clear out of this area.
Hornet in the air.
Barracks complete.
We're going. We're going.
Yeah, they'll take care of it. No rush.
Adrenaline research.
Hornet up. Hornet here. On my way. 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 Hornet attacking. Hornet here. On my way. Hornet prepped and flying. Hornet here. On my way. We're going. We're going.
More resources required. All
On
units.
the way. On the way. On the way. On the way. You got it. On the way. On the way. Hornet here. Hornet here. On my way. On
New
my
blood.
way.
Research.
Arrogant, didn't your mama teach you about fire?
On my way. On my way. On my way.
Carpet bomb. Improve. All units.
On my way. 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 On my way.
Reactor improved.
On my way. 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 Hornet attacking. Hornet here. Hornet here.
Local units.
On my way. Hornet attacking. attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking.
More resources required. More resources required. Wingmen, research. Local units.
Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. On my way. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. On my way. There were more of us in our platoon. We all scattered when it hit the fan. On my way. Where to? On the way. On the way. Hornet here. On my way.
Kill confirmed.
Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. On my way. Hornet attacking.
Turret upgraded. Higher tech level required. Build more reactors.
On my way. On my way. Hornet attacking. Hornet in the air. Hornet here. On my way. Hornet.
Local units.
Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. On my way. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet on station. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. On my way. Hornet here.
Local units.
Stand by. On my way. Hornet attacking. Where to? On the way. Hornet here. On my way. On my way. Hornet here. On my way.
Reactor improved.
On my way. 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 Thanks for the rescue, sir.
Already at maximum population. Already at maximum population.
Where to? Where to? On the way. We're going. We're going. We're going. Hornet here. Hornet attacking.
local units.
Hornet attacking. On my way. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. Hornet attacking. On my way. On my way. On my way. On my way. We're going. We're going.
Reserves. Research.
Where to? Where to? On the way. On the way. Where to? On the way. We're going.
Shore leave.
We're going. Standing by. We're going.
Chaff pods research.
We're going. Hornet here. We're going.
RPG research.
Flammers coming
Light
in
'em
hot.
up. Light 'em up. We're going. 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 We're going.
Gunner research.
We're going. We're going. Light 'em up. We're going. We're going. We're going.
Break yet?
Light 'em up. We're going. We're going. We're going. We're going. Light 'em up. We're going. Light 'em up. Light 'em up.
Do you
Light
like
'em up.
fire?
Light 'em up. Light 'em up. Light 'em up. We're
Yeah,
going.
get some. Smell that?
We're going. We're going. We're going. We're going. We're going. Hornet here. Light 'em up. Light 'em up.
Ready to lay down some heat?
Light 'em up. We're going. We're going. Thank God you found us. We thought we were goners for sure.
Do you like fire?
Light 'em up. Light 'em up. Light 'em up.
Yeah, get some.
Rocket in the air.
Local units.
On the way. 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 Rocket launch!
Grenadier, research. More resources required. Local units. More resources required. Napalm adherent research.
Got it. Rock it out. That's what I'm talking.
More resources required. Gauss cannon research.
On the way. On the way. Vulture, on station. Yes. Going there now. Stay frosty, on the way. Hornet here. On my way. 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 On the way. On the way. On station. Vulture, inbound. Yes, sir. Engines up. Coming around. Full speed.
All units.
On my way. Hornet attack! On my way. Give me a target.
Local units.
On my way. Hornet attack! On my way. Delivering the pain. Hornet attack! Hostiles clear! Let's move! It's getting darker out here!
We need those units intact. Bring all elephants back to base, Sergeant.
All right, let's get everyone back to the base. Move! 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 On my way. 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 Ready to launch. Yes, sir. Going there now. Stay frosty. Hornet here. On my way.
elephants are home. Hold for new orders.
Spirit, any closer on that transponder location?
I'm still trying to confirm Professor Anders' coordinates. A watched pot and all that.